Hey, Jamie Matta here, founder of PT Biz, and today we're going to talk about price psychology and how you can use it to your advantage when you're setting up your pricing structure in your practice. So I want to tell you a little story about something that we did this weekend. So my family, they decided that we were going to vote on a movie to watch, and the movie that won was Zoolander.
What is this? A center for ants?
So for those of you that haven't seen Zoolander, pause this, go watch it now. Fantastic. But it's basically kind of a silly comedy movie about a male model that, anyway, we won't get into all the details. I don't want to ruin it for you. But it's a funny movie. Ben Stiller's in it and Owen Wilson. So that movie went out, and we couldn't find it on a streaming service. Whichever one it was on, we didn't have it. So we go to Apple or Amazon, whichever one you're going to rent a movie from. And here are our options. We can rent it for like 24 hours, watch it as many times as you want for $3.99, or you can buy it and you can store it on your account for $4.99. So what do you think we did? We now own Zoolander. If we watch it more than once in the duration of time that we have an account, then we're ahead, right? And I thought to myself, how many people own movies that they only really wanted to watch one time because there's a $1 difference between what it costs to buy it versus rent it? And we actually own like a dozen movies that we probably would lump into this category just because of the price psychology of the dollar difference between buying it and renting it. And I assume Apple and Amazon, they make a ton of money off of the $1 difference that it probably doesn't cost them any difference in terms of actually being able to fulfill on someone being able to watch that movie, but they make a $1 difference because most people probably buy it versus rent the movie. Now, when we look at price psychology is an interesting thing. How can you take the same price psychology and apply it to your practice? And what we've found over the last decade or so is that you can use price psychology, principles to be applied to how we set up visits and individual visits versus packages of visits within the clinics that we work with. And what we found is you really want to try to establish the best pricing for the service that you want people to use, or let's put it this way, the service that you're going to get the best results with most frequently with your clientele, okay? So this may be different for everybody. For a lot of the clinics we work with, they are working with, kind of acute on chronic issues, or if not chronic issues, and in many cases, helping people with more health, wellness, performance-related goals as they get them out of a injured state or a pain state. Now, if you are working with primarily post-operative patients, let's say you're doing a lot of ACL, return to sport or full sort of recovery ACL work, you may have a different setup and probably do have a very different setup than somebody who's working with, let's call it, runners. Maybe what they're doing is their plans of care are going to be shorter. Your plan of care is going to be much longer, right? So the duration of time, the number of sessions, whatever you pick, is going to be different based on your niche. So I'm going to walk you through a typical example we see with a clinic that's working with more, let's call it like active adults. This could be runners, CrossFitters. This could be people that are doing triathlons. People just want to be really active and play tennis with their friends, for a long period of time. Whatever it is, they're going to fit into this sort of active adult stage. And a lot of these people have multiple issues, oftentimes acute on very chronic, settings where they're showing up with their shoulder hurts, but it's been kind of on and off for a long time, and they've been kind of neglecting it. And there's a host of other problems that they're dealing with. So this isn't something we're going to see somebody like one or two times and they're going to be good to go. All right. So in this situation, let's look at the single visit. So many of these clinics are going to have a single visit rate somewhere in the range of like $250 to $300 for a single visit rate. So let's just put this at $279. So let's say that their single visit rate is $279. So if you have somebody that comes in and they say, yeah, I just kind of want to work with you one visit at a time, cool, we have that. This is what it costs per visit. And we know historically, the drop-off rate for somebody that's just doing single sessions usually is going to be around visit 3, somewhere between visit 2 and 4, let's call it. But really visit 3, if they make it to that, that's usually where they drop off because symptomatically their pain is gone, right? Now their pain is gone and I think the problem is solved, but we know that it's not because that's not how we rebuild after injuries. It takes a lot of effort outside of just pain resolving. And when we have somebody move to a plan of care, we get the opportunity to make sure we take them through a full plan of care and get the outcome that they really want. And the compliance on our end is basically 100% because they're committing to solving that problem up front. So single visit rates are there for things that are less acute or more acute, so less complex, more simple injuries. But the plans of care are what most people are more appropriate for, and you're going to get a lot better compliance from it. They're going to get a lot better long-term outcome because they're sticking to it. So there's a reason why we really like to have those in the sales process. But you want a relatively high single visit rate so that you can anchor your pricing of your packages or your plans of care. Okay. So let's say that the single visit rate is $279. And then let's say they have 2 package options. Let's say they have a 10 and a 20. Let's say that 10 is $2,200 or it brings it down to $220 per session. And let's say that the 20 visit package is $4,000 and it brings the per session price down to $200. Now, if we look at visibly, let's say you have a handout that you see with this. You have $279 for a single. Basically, it averages out to $220 for a 10 visit. And then it's $200 if you want to do 20. So there's a big gap between a single and a 10 visit package, and a very much more small gap between a 10 and a 20. And the reason that a lot of clinics will set up a plan of care structure this way is because for most people, 10 visits spaced out over, let's call it 3 months in most cases, is a great duration of time to be able to help somebody that has a acute on chronic issue really get to the root cause of that and resolve those problems long term, and for them to understand how to take care of themselves long term. It gives us a lot of time to work with them with our hands to really program effectively for what they need, as well as educate them on the things they need to do in order to take care of themselves long term. So what do the other 2 types of visits do? So you have a single visit that has a much higher price point, and you have a 20, which is twice as many visits, with only a reduction of $20 per session versus if you look at $279 down to $220, you're talking about a $59 difference, or if they buy 10 visits, almost $600 difference in actual price if they were to pay for it all along. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense if you know that they need to work with you longer for more visits and they have a more complex problem to solve. It doesn't really make sense for them to do single visits because they're going to be able to save a lot more money if they commit to a plan of care. And for you, what you get is consistency of visit volume. You get somebody that's not going to drop off after symptomatic changes occur. And the pressure is off you to now you're able to build out the entire plan of care and really get them the outcome they want. It's also far better for the business if we look at, would you rather have somebody drop off at visit 3 and not actually get that long-term outcome they're looking for? Because that also decreases the likelihood they're going to send somebody your way. That decreases the likelihood that they're going to be a raving fan because they have this fantastic outcome that is not transient. And it's better for the business because you're increasing your upfront revenue per patient, right? So let's say somebody comes in for 3 visits at $279, that's just under $1,000. And if somebody comes in and they commit to a plan of care that's 10 visits, that's going to more than double that front end value, which allows you to do a lot of things. Reinvest in marketing, pay your team better, have more predictability, and have fewer new patients that lead to more revenue in the business. It puts us in a much better position. But the anchoring and the structure of how we do this is important, and there is psychology behind it. And if you look at what these big businesses are doing with something as simple as rent versus buy a movie, you can really kind of see it everywhere. And what you want to do is think about, what outcome do I want people to do for their best interest? In our example, me buying Zoolander versus renting it is not necessarily in my best interest. It just made sense if I watch it twice, which we probably will. My son thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for!
But in this situation, if we know us getting them to commit is going to get a better outcome for them, it's better for the business, it's easier on our staff to be able to actually plan all their entire plan of care out, It's a win-win. So we want to incentivize that. We want to structure the plan of care to drive people to the decision that is best for our clinic and best for them. And like I said, every clinic is going to be different, because let's say you have a ACL, a specialist clinic. You're taking people through 6 to 9 months of rehab. Well, now you're going to actually structure that far differently than what you would in this example, which is more similar to a lot of the clinics we work with that work with active adults. So I hope that helped. Take a look at your price sheet. Take a look at how you're actually laying things out. Are you incentivizing people? Like, does it make sense if you look at it that this is the best value here? Like, it should be very, very obvious to you. It should be very obvious to your consumers. It should be something that's part of your sales process that's pretty easy to say, like, yeah, you could come in for a single visit at a time if you would like to do that. This is not a simple problem. Like, we're going to be working on this for a few months to truly get the outcome that you want, to get back to the things that you've told me that you want to do, and to have a long-term change in a positive direction for the health that you're looking for and the activities you're looking to get back to. If we're going to see this many times, it really makes sense for you to do this. It's the best price for you. It allows us to focus on your plan of care and fully build that out and hold each other accountable to make sure that we stick through this to the end, because it's going to require a lot of work on your part. So this is something you have to build in, and it has to make sense visibly, and it has to make sense for the numbers of your clinic as well, right? Because you need to understand how much you need to be making per session based on the overhead, based on what you're going to pay your staff, based on your area, all these factors. Like, these are things that we see that change dramatically in different areas, right? So this is an example of sort of the average that we see across the board. So I hope this helps. Take a look at your pricing sheet. Take a look at the price psychology of what we're talking about. This should dramatically improve your conversion percentage in your plans of care, which allows you to really get the outcomes we want for people. It's a win-win for everybody. So make sure you're baking this in. Take a look at it. And as always, thank you so much for listening and watching. I'll catch you in the next one.